This is the Marketing Podcast Network.
Welcome to Uncorking a Story, the podcast that introduces you to the rich world of storytellers who share their personal journeys, creative processes, and the stories behind their stories, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Mike Carlon, and I'm thrilled to be part of your writing journey. If you're an aspiring writer, a literary enthusiast, or simply someone who believes in the transformative power of words, you've come to the right place. Every week, we'll pop the cork on the world of successful storytellers and give you a healthy pour of inspiration, insight, and empowerment. My mission is to help writers like you realize your full potential through the transformative and therapeutic power of writing. Whether you're just starting your literary voyage or looking to refine your craft, I'm here to provide you with the knowledge, inspiration, and encouragement you need to embark on your own storytelling adventure. So, are you ready to uncork your story and let your creativity flow? Uncorking a Story is about to begin. Sit back, relax, and let the transformative magic of storytelling whisk you away. Welcome to Uncorking a Story. Internationally best-selling author Hannah Mary McKinnon was born in the UK, grew up in Switzerland, and moved to Canada in 2010. Her 7 suspense novels include Never Coming Home, The Revenge List, and her most recent release, Only One Survives. She also writes holiday romantic comedies as Holly Cassidy. Welcome back to Uncorking a Story, Hannah.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Mike, for having me back in the first place. It's lovely to be here again.
Oh, it's great to have you here, and I always love it when people come back on. But I always I need to ask the question I always ask, which is, remind me, where does your story as an author begin?
About a decade ago, after I pushed my corporate career off a cliff and started my own company that failed, I needed to do something else. I needed to find another career, another avenue. And it turned out that writing was that path. And here I am with my 7th thriller about to release and my 10th book then publishing in October. So it's been quite the ride.
Quite the ride. I love stories that begin with failures. Not that the failure of your business was necessarily a great outcome or the outcome that you hoped for, but from those ashes come new beginnings, and it sounds like your career as an author really may not have happened unless you had that experience.
I think so. I think that's absolutely right, because if the company had boomed and had done well, then I wouldn't have thought about writing. But equally so, because it didn't do well, because it failed so miserably, it gave me that determination that whatever I was going to do afterwards, I would not fail. Because I didn't like it. It was painful. So I just had to make sure it wouldn't happen again. So it certainly lit a fire under my bottom. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, it's as I get older in life, and have had more experiences, I've come to believe that these negative events that happen in our lives don't necessarily happen to us; they happen for us. These even in the sort of our darkest times, if we can figure out a way in which there's a lesson there, or there's a gift, like a hidden gift, it just kind of sets us up better for success later on. And it sounds like that's what happened to you.
Yes, I think it did with this. And I think you're right, actually. Sometimes we can't see in the moment when something devastating has happened to us or somebody who we care deeply for, that in the end it might somehow help us help somebody else. So it can be, like you said, I like the idea of thinking of it as a gift, although it certainly doesn't feel like it at the time, that's for sure. But if we can pull that out of it somehow, then we can turn it into something helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am curious to know what you can share with us about Only One Survives, because I certainly love the title. But what can you share about it?
Well, here we are. That's what it looks like. Creepy cabin. So Only One Survives is the story of an all-female pop rock group called the Bittersweet, who, after a very tragic, fatal road accident, where one of them dies immediately and another is severely injured, one member may start thinking that the band is now finished and therefore worth more dead than alive. And so very, very bad stuff happens afterwards. And yeah, only one survives.
Interesting. Well, I have to ask, is the all-female pop group sort of not formed, but inspired by any group in particular?
Not any group in particular, no. But I did want to have an all-female pop rock group. That was very clear from the beginning. And I took inspiration, I'm Gen X, so, I took a lot of inspiration from the Bangles, the Go-Go's, those kinds of bands. Joan Jett, of course, because she's so cool. And Pink, obviously, too, because she's the epitome of cool. But there's a more recent band in Toronto called The Beaches, and I really love their sound. And they're a little bit older than the women in my fictional band, but the sound was very much how I imagined the Bittersweet might sound like. So they were. I was listening. I do listen to a lot of their songs anyway. Saw them in concert too, and they just had that cool vibe. So that was certainly part of the inspiration too. Yeah, lots and lots of different bands.
Yeah, I was thinking, like my mind immediately went to the Spice Girls, and
Yes.
I'm like, could Jerry Hollowell, could she be the one who is trying to, knock off the other members of the band? I don't know. I've never met her. She seems sweet, but
Why not the Spice Girls? No, this is not based in any way, shape, or form on a real band. No real band was hurt in the making of this book. So no, the music, yes, was inspiring, but the events, no, that was all up here.
all up there. But
Yeah.
it does strike me that tragedies do hit rock bands,
Mhm.
especially killing key
They do.
members. And I think of like Leonard
Yep.
Skinner. I know Ozzy Osbourne's original guitar player when he went solo, I think died in some kind of an accident. There's Stevie Ray Vaughan, his helicopter flies out of the
Yes.
sky. Richie Valens and who else the
Buddy
American
Holly.
Buddy Holly. Thank you,
Mhm.
Big Bopper. But so that is is certainly something that is not those accidents are not strangers to musicians. So
That's true. That's very true. Yes. But hopefully the events that unfold in the book are also, just fiction.
that's right. Well, that's right. Well, one thing that strikes me about you, because I remember reading it in our intro, and maybe we touched upon it last time, is this other part of your writing personality. Holiday romantic comedies as Holly Cassidy. How do you come up with these, thrillers, and then on the other side of your brain come up with these like love stories?
Well, sometimes I love my thrillers. Don't get me wrong. I adore writing thrillers. I think it's really fun and really cool. But yeah, if I'm spending 6 months in a book where it's all in this one in particular, music, mayhem, and murder, it was nice, or it is nice, to then go and think about something that's perhaps a little less destructive, and where there is a happy outcome for everybody. I mean, in a rom-com, there has to be a happily ever after, or it isn't a romantic comedy. That's the rule. And so it's really nice to be able to do both and to play around with both. Having said that, I remember finishing the romantic comedy that publishes later this year called The Christmas Countdown, and thinking, okay, that's enough of that. That's enough of the happily ever after now. Let me get back to some fictional murder and wreaking some fictional havoc in fictional people's lives. So it's a really strange balance, to flip from one to the other, but really fun. And I'll write something that's very heartwarming and tender, and then write something a few months later, not concurrently, where it's just death, destruction, and murder, and think this is kind of weird that I'm doing both, but fun, really fun.
Well, I mean, it's good that you have balance in your life. I think that's what it is. You don't want to get too hard. You don't want to get too soft. So you
Don't want to be too cynical or too all kind of everything is awesome, to quote the Lego Movie song.
Now that's going to be in my head.
Oh, sorry.
That's going to be in my head.
I might.
I'm thinking about it though. Taking on the persona of a thriller writer, or a romantic comedy writer, do you dress differently? Do you write in a different place? Like, do you do anything differently to approach or when you're physically writing?
No, not really. I think probably the exception is that when I'm writing thrillers, I'll probably gravitate toward reading thrillers and watching dark stuff on TV or movie. Whereas if I'm working on a rom-com, I'll probably gravitate towards the lighter reads and the lighter things on TV. So that's probably the only thing. No, dressing differently, no. Acting differently, no. Writing in different places, no. That all stays the same, really. So it's just, I guess I just access a different. Don't even know if it's a different part of my brain. It's just a different angle to the story, really, more than anything else.
Yeah. So it's not like method actors who just like get into character and don't stop. It's
No, no.
but maybe kind of what you're surrounding yourself with is a little bit different.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I know that some of your work has been optioned for the screen.
Yes.
What are we talking, the thrillers or the romantic comedies or both?
I cannot comment. I'm not at liberty to divulge many details at this point.
Okay. Okay. So I will not know if I'll be seeing a big blockbuster on the silver screen or if I'll be watching Hallmark one day over the holidays and see one of your works. But you
Oh,
can't
goodness,
really.
both. No, from your lips and all that. That would be
Yeah,
great.
that's right. That's right. I tell you, I am a sucker for Hallmark movies. It's,
Same. And that's the thing with romantic comedies. I think, you could pretty well tell from the beginning who's going to end up together, who the love interest is, and there's something so comforting about that because there's going to be happily ever after, and sometimes that's what you're in the mood for. You want to have something that's just cozy and happy, and sometimes you're in the mood for something that scares you completely witless. For example, I still don't know how I'm going to do this, even though I write dark stuff and I write thrillers. And I just made somebody cut off their pinky finger in my latest thriller, as you do. They're not real, so it's fine. They're fine. I'm not very good with anything supernatural. I'm pathetic with anything that is supernatural. Blair Witch Project followed me around for days. Zombies, don't even get me started. World War Z, great movie, but I had an escape route planned from my house just in case it happened for months. I mean, I'm exaggerating at least slightly bit, but it was probably weak. But I just don't do well with those. And I've just been invited to the premiere of a Nicolas Cage movie called Longlegs in a couple of weeks. And I said to my husband, "You're coming with me," because he likes scary movies, slasher movies and stuff. I don't do very well with those. And I said, "You have to come because I can't do this alone. I have to go with a pillow and hide behind it." So he's going to come with me. And now I'm seriously reconsidering my life choices because I don't know if I'll get through it. And it's so odd because I'm such a baby when it comes to these scary movies. It's ridiculous. But I'm going to go. I'll put my big girl pants on and try and get through it.
well, you can close your eyes. That's always an option.
But then the sound.
Well, there you can get up and get popcorn or whatever, but you also have Nicolas Cage. I mean, that has to balance out the fear because he's what my daughter and I, one of my girls, we are on such a Nicolas Cage kick right now. We're just trying to watch anything Nick Cage that we can. And there's a lot of questionable choices perhaps that he made with some of his films more recently. But looking at the classic Nick Cage movies, Face Off.
Cool. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Gone in 60 seconds? Come on. Oh, yes. Yeah.
So we just watched Con Air.
Oh,
And,
yes.
it is so
Fantastic.
he's so good. I mean, he's himself. My I have a friend of mine who's a film writer. He and his brother, he had a twin brother. They shared a beach house. They didn't share the house with Nicolas Cage, but they shared a driveway in Malibu. And the stories that they would tell me about him are just legendary. I mean, just that he'd have a Porsche top down with a car seat in the back, driving like a maniac with a baby.
Oh,
Completely believable, though. Like, completely believable. So,
cool. I like his movies. The movies are cool.
yes. Well, I'm curious, in terms of, one of the ways I always like to get to know people is do some pop culture questions. And
Sure.
I know we played a round of this game before, but I'm curious if you could jump into any romantic comedy, what would it be and why?
Notting Hill.
Ooh.
Oh, wait, no, I will revise that answer and say About Time, which is
Yeah.
also a Richard Curtis movie. And I
No,
love that movie. Have you seen
no,
it?
I've not seen it. Who's in About Time?
Rachel McAdams is in it. Bill Nye is in it. And it's about the men in this family who can time travel. They can go back to 2 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour, whatever, but only somewhat. They can't go back, as Bill Nye says. I can't go back and have sex with Helen of Troy. Oh, but I can go back to any point in my life, and it's just the sweetest movie. It's funny, it's touching. That the whole message behind it is really, really cool. And I'd like to be plopped into that one, but only if I'm the guy who can do the time travel. Please, I want to have that ability. That would be cool.
That would be a pretty cool superpower to have.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
But you got to be careful. I mean, you don't want to create, butterfly effects with it. So there's got to
Well,
be
that's
some
it.
rules.
Yes, there's got to be rules. Yeah, and there are rules, and you'll have to watch it to find out. But highly recommend it. Love that movie.
Well, it's about time I watched that movie. Terrible. Terrible. I have to get
Right,
better.
go on. We'll give you a joke point for that one.
That's right. That's my dad joke. I reached my dad joke of the day limit. All right. So what about where do you stand on Where Harry Met Sally?
I like When Harry Met Sally. I thought it was really hilarious. I mean, the legendary scene, of course, at the restaurant. I thought it's Nora Ephron movie. She's was the queen, is probably still posthumously of romantic comedies. She was incredible. So I like When Harry Met Sally. How about you?
Oh, I love it. I love the soundtrack because Harry Connick, I
Yes.
think, does such an amazing job with it. And I just that phase of like Meg Ryan's career,
Yes.
I just really loved.
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
really loved.
Yep.
You could do
You've
no
Got
wrong.
Mail, Sleepers in Seattle. And funnily enough, after You've Got Mail came out, or just as You've Got Mail came out, I met my husband on the internet by complete accident. And so we were still chatting on ICQ. This was, so anyone who's familiar with ICQ, this was in 1999, the dark ages of the internet. And I remember going to the movies and thinking, oh my gosh, we know who we are. We weren't, Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks don't. But it's just so funny. Just the noise of how the what you call it, can't think of the word now, how you connected to the internet, the screechy noise that you had.
Oh yeah,
online.
the old modem, the old
modem.
modem.
Thank you. It's so old I couldn't even remember the name. That was epic and still is epic.
Now, I mean, just to bring this full circle, Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan were in a movie together called City of Angels.
Oh yes, City of Angels. You know what? I was thinking about that one the other day, and it was so sad. I mean, it was uplifting in a way too, but it was just, it was so sad. Anyone who wants a real tearjerker, then go watch City of Angels. That was a fabulous movie too.
I know that's one of our next up movies in our Nicolas Cage viewing party. Well, very cool. What else? Anything else that you'd like to share about Only One Survives?
Well, we added some bonus material for anybody who wants to go and take a look at that as well. So it's on my website, which is hannahmarymckinnon.com. But we added, so there's an author interview, there's book club questions, of course. Don't read them if you haven't read the book, because there are spoilers in them, so don't. But there's also a playlist of the music that's mentioned in the book. And there are also song lyrics, which I wrote, because I mention 6 songs for the Bittersweet in the book. And I thought, well, I can't just mention the songs. I've got to try and write lyrics. That was really hard, but it was really, really fun. So just the lyrics, because um, I'm not musically inclined in any way. I couldn't compose anything. The life of me, I can't play any instruments. I definitely can't sing. But writing the lyrics was really interesting and really fun because it's something I'd never done before, and I needed to understand how songs work. How do they hang together? So I was looking at the different lyrics and deconstructing songs and deconstructing, and therefore hopefully being able to build something half decent. So that's all on my website. HarperCollins, my publishers, they package it together in this beautiful free downloadable PDF, which is really, really beautiful the way they've done it. And that's all to enhance the experience, the reading experience of Only One Survives.
Yeah, I'm just curious how you write lyrics without knowing melody or knowing what the melody is. I guess you could do it. I mean, I know songwriters do, approach writing songs in different ways.
Yes.
But, I'd be curious to know if you could partner up with a composer or like a musician, if like what those songs would sound like. I think that would be
I'm
kind of,
curious too. I'm curious too. And interestingly, I knew nothing about the music industry. This is not, and as with most of my novels, I'll think of something and then go, I'll figure it out. I'll find someone who will tell me everything about whatever it is that I'm writing about. And I have a very, very good friend, and we've been friends for eons, ever since we were teenagers, who actually manages bands and singers and artists. And so I was able to chat with him, and he read an early version, and he inspired the band Bittersweets, the fictional band's manager, Roger. My friend's name is Roger. So he allowed me to bring him into the book. And we chatted for, I don't know how long. We had a Zoom call for a few hours, and I was able to really get a proper grip of the music industry and how it all hangs together and how it works. And I was saying to him about writing lyrics, and he said, "Oh, you should totally do it. You can do that." And I said, "But I don't have a tune. To your point, I don't have a tune in mind. I have no idea what that would sound like." And he said, but there are people, there are lyricists, and there are composers, and yes, there are some who do both, but very often they don't. They either do one or the other, and they work together. So yeah, I mean, I would love for these 6 songs to become, real songs in the sense that they would have music, composition to go with them. So that would be another author achievement unlocked, I suppose.
there you
Anyone
go.
out there listening, let me know.
Yeah, you could be the Bernie Taupin to somebody's Elton John. So
That would be fine with me.
yeah.
I'd love to do more of it. Actually, I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was so different, so unique, and just part of the point was also to convey the main character, Vienna, her state of mind through the songs a little bit, give a little bit more insight as to what she was thinking while she was writing these songs as stuff was happening in her life. So it was, yeah, I guess it got quite deep in that sense.
Yeah, I know you also mentioned that you have a playlist for the music referenced. What's on the playlist?
Gosh, there's all kinds of music because I like, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I like all kinds of music, but the 80s, obviously, being born in the 70s and 80s would be my jam, as it were. And so I made the women in the group love that music too, all for this privilege. So I had Vienna be influenced by her grandmother, who was a huge music fan, and Madison, the one of the other band members and Vienna's best friend. She's heavily influenced by a nanny that she had when she was a kid. So there's all kinds of rock bands on there. And you've got Joan Jett, you've got the Bangles, you've got Prince, you've got Sheila E., of course, because I had to look at drummers as well. Vienna, the main character, is a drummer. So I was learning about researching female drummers, and Sheila E. was always really cool to me. I always thought she was really, really, really cool. And then, you've got There's references to Tom Petty. There's references to, gosh, the Spice Girls are in there too, funny enough. Pink, even Taylor Swift. So there's the whole gamut of musicians, and it really is a love letter to so many of them who I admire. So there's got to be over 30 or so songs on the playlist, and it's on Spotify too.
Very cool. Is there one concert that you've been to in your life that stands out as, one you would absolutely love to relive?
Wow, that's a really good question. I remember seeing, I don't remember if you know the band, it's a Belgian band called Vaya con Dios from the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. And I saw them in Geneva, and they were fantastic. And another band that springs to mind, Delight, also from the late 80s. Remember Grooves in the Heart?
Grooves in the Heart, absolutely.
Grooves in the Heart. I saw them at the Montreux Festival, the Jazz Festival in Switzerland. And they played with Bootsy Collins. Bootsy Collins was on stage. And after they played, they all came down into the audience and shaking hands and signing autographs. And I thought that was so cool. They were just, that was amazing. So there's two. Saw Annie Lennox there as well. And she was outstanding. So there's quite a few. Recently, I saw Culture Club, which was so funny because I was a die-hard Culture Club fan. I mean, I was totally die-hard in the 80s. And I never saw them in concert. And, 40 years later, finally, they were in Toronto, and a friend of mine said he was going to see a concert, and we saw Berlin, Culture Club, and Howard Jones.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and actually later on, a few months later, my husband Rob and I went to see Howard Jones again in a much smaller venue, and he did lots of songs but unplugged. There were just three of them on stage, and he was talking to the audience, telling stories about the songs, about his background. And the bass guitar player, he introduced him and he said, "This is Nick Clegg from Kajagoogoo." Do you remember Kajagoogoo?
Oh, sure, yeah.
And it was Nick Clegg. It was so cool. It was a really intimate concert. It was stripped down. It was so that's very high on my I'd go and see him again list. They were great. Yeah,
and
really
those are
cool.
my favorite types of shows. Just like really pared down.
Yes.
Maybe it's an acoustic guitar and maybe a couple of other band members. I once saw Jimmy Buffett with just him and his acoustic guitar, and he was just playing songs in a very small theater. It was a fundraiser.
Yeah.
And, he got to tell, he's a natural born storyteller, but he would tell stories. He introduce every song with a story. And then just, it was just, that's the way I want to see things.
Yeah.
I don't need the big production,
Yeah.
and that's fun at times, but,
so I'd definitely like to see Pink in concert. That's on my bucket list because she's just cool. She's so cool. So soon, hopefully.
yeah. I mean, out of everyone she kind of came up with, in the 90s and early 2000s, she is still relevant and out there and making great music
Great music, yeah.
A lot of her contemporaries perhaps have fizzled out a bit. But anyway, well, this has been fun. This has been great getting to speak with you again, Hannah.
Yes, thank you.
And I know you gave out the website before, but would you like to give it out again in any social media accounts that people can follow you at?
Sure, I'd love to. So the website is hannahmarymckinnon.com. If you want to check out my rom-coms, they're under hollycassidyauthor.com. But there are links from one website to the other one, so you can't go wrong. And on social media, you'll find me under Hannah Mary McKinnon, mainly Facebook and Instagram. I dabble on Threads and TikTok, but not a huge amount. So mainly Facebook and Instagram. But yeah, I love hearing from readers. So tag me as long as it's nice. But if it isn't, then don't tag me. I don't know. But otherwise, yeah, please. I really, really love hearing from readers. It's always super fun.
Well, very good. I will be sure to put that website and those accounts in our show notes so people can find you easily. Hannah, thank you so much for stopping by Uncorking a Story again and letting me uncork yours.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Uncorking a Story. If you'd like more information about today's guest or to find out more about Mike, go to uncorkingastory.com. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in every week to hear Mike Carlon uncork a new story.